I just wanted to talk to you guys about kind of like, I mean, you're listening to a guy you don't know. You're listening to some guy, random guy on the internet, and the thing you have to understand is I'm not a random guy. I guess, I guess I'm one of you. You know, I'm doing this whole podcast or whatever I'm doing these little videos in the morning. Like I've never seen anybody do this before, but it's something that was inside of me. It was something that I've been talking about with my wife for quite a while, and you know, but I started a journey. You know, I started to grow myself, and I did. And look, I was 51 when I started. I'm 52 now, and I didn't. You know, I'm already established in life. Like I've made my path, the things that I'm doing. You know, who I am as a person has been established. You know, so to make a change this late in life is mind-boggling, right? Like you think that, okay, it's time to give up. Why are you even trying? Why do you keep giving? Why keep going? You know, and it's because I'm not done. You know what I mean? Like you know, I started out with fitness. I started going every single day, and that's how I knew to start. You know, I have a job, and I manage people, and you know, you know, I make a decent living. I do okay. Like you know, struggling just like everybody else, and you know, Christmas is coming up, and you got that stress, and you got all those things. But you have to understand is, once I got onto this journey of just bettering myself, I understand. I talk about fitness and food, and that was, I got to tell you, that's the most important part, because that's the biggest test. You know, are you important enough to do all these things? Are you important enough to put the time in and the energy that it takes to improve yourself? Because I'm not talking about trying harder. You know what I mean? There's a thing where we all say, you know, I gave my best. No, you didn't. I promise you didn't. You know, sometimes, I guess. But there's more. There's more. And you gave your best at that time, but did you prepare yourself as good as you could have to be your best? You know, so maybe you gave the best you had at the time, but you could have prepared yourself so much better to be better in that moment. And that's what I'm talking about with growth. Growth isn't where I'm like I said, trying hard to get better. I am changing the way I think, my habits. I'm changing everything. And it started with fitness. I started going, you know, I'm like 300 and, you know, 80 something days in a row. I go to the gym. But that's not what the promise is about. The promise is about is showing up on those days that you don't want to, you know, showing up on the days that are hard. And I don't bust my ass in the gym all the time. I go there every single day. You know, there was times early on where I was sore. You know, I'd go to the sauna. You know, nowadays, even on my rest days, I get some cardio in. And it's changed my body. It's changed my mind. You feel different. You feel different when you know you're putting everything you can into yourself. You know, as far as the other stuff goes, I'm putting way more effort. I'm doing the things I can, but I'm a grown man. You know, I have a family. I have a wife. You know, so I can't jump in and be like, hey, baby, this is how it is now. And I tried that. And, you know, she talked to me and she's like, you know, I'm suffering a lot. And, you know, I want to say, hey, I'm doing it for you. I'm doing it for everybody else. But in the end, it's, you know, is it worth sacrificing my marriage to get things, you know, because it's not about things for me. You know, people always say that, you know, I'm not materialistic. I have a few nice things, you know. They're not expensive, but they're nice to me, I guess. You know what I mean? And those things I could do without in a second. I could, you know, it's just the way it has to be. Because if you want to find happiness in life, it's not about the things you own. It's about the effort you put into. And sometimes, you know what, you're down and out. You're not, you know, you're looking at me like, who the fuck is this guy? Who's he saying stuff? And I understand what you're saying. I get it. But you got to understand, is everybody's hard is hard to them. You know what I mean? So, you know, your worst situation might be worst. Yeah, great language there. But your worst situation might just shatter my worst situation, but it's still my worst situation. It's still the thing that affected me. So you can't dog on me for the fact that I'm in a different position in life or whatever. You have to understand we have stresses. Maybe they're not the exact same, but I promise you they're very similar. And that's the social divide. You know, obviously to get to a certain level, but you have to even understand People that have a lot sometimes are just barely making it. It's more of a front. They're trying to hold on. They're doing that stuff, especially probably in the economy now. You know, we're all doing the wait and see with the president and stuff like that. And hey, I got to tell you, I'm waiting and seeing. But it's hard. It's hard. It's expensive. Like I said, Christmas. You hate when you got to tell your family, they're like, hey man, this one's gonna be a thin one. This ain't gonna be the one. So pick the ones that you want. And we're not gonna dilly dally about the little things because we're still gonna have Christmas. And it'll be more debt. But it's life. It's life. And sometimes, you guys pick on you have to, when it comes to food, you have to give in. You have to let yourself, like Thanksgiving, man, I had an uproar over the fact that I said don't cheat meal. And what I mean by no cheat meal, by any time, is just that you should never want those things. It's not that you're craving it and you need it that one day or whatever, because you feel like shit the next day. Every single person I talked to that did it, oh, I wish I didn't do it. All I know is that I wish I didn't do it, so I didn't do it. And so, but that's because it's not I'm not eating a diet. It's not a diet to me. To me, this is the food that I can eat to make myself healthy. So I mix it up, put it all together. I do all the stuff. I stay away from the sauces and you tend not to overeat healthy food. At least that's in my case. I understand anybody can overeat anything. But when it comes to this growth, and I'm going through all this stuff, and I love to learn. I love learning new things. And if I get in, the thing I learned is if I get interested just slightly in a topic, I dive in. It's a lot of topics sometimes. You get a little sidetracked on things and you go back to them. But what I've learned with that is it makes me more inquisitive to other people. So there's a subject that I just barely learned a little bit about. I haven't done a lot of work on it, and I talk to somebody that knows stuff about it. Expect a long conversation, sir. Expect a long conversation, because I will pick your brain. I love knowledge. I think we all should love knowledge, because knowledge improves your status in life. And I'm not saying to other people. I'm not saying that. I'm saying is that your vocabulary, you feel better. You feel better about things. You feel, like I said, that still trying thing. You still have some left. And so when I started this, it was, a little over a year ago, I kind of put my head down. I stayed away from people. I really didn't go to a lot of parties because I don't want to explain the diet. I didn't want to explain all the, what? You get up at 2:30 in the morning? What the fuck is wrong with you, right? How do you live your life? What time do you go? Every day. What time do you go to bed? I hear it literally every single day because they can't believe that somebody is dumb enough to get up at 2:30 in the morning. Well, I got to tell you, ever since I started doing that, my life is, it's hard. It's hard because I'm putting in so much effort into so many things. But there's something about that. There's joy in the fact of trying. There's joy in improving yourself. It's crazy to me because, I listen to books on tape all the time. Most of them are communication books. I know people want to say self-help, but I got to tell you about self-help books. They all say the exact same thing. And all it is they woke up and they wanted to share it with you. It's not about, I know they're making money. But I know when they first started, they were trying to help you, and they're still trying to help you because there's something about being outside the matrix. And I can't explain this to you. This is impossible. It's impossible. This is like making that decision to be fit or to eat healthy. That has to be your decision. It cannot be for somebody else. It cannot be because you broke up with somebody, because guess what? As soon as that situation, subsides, finds a way to get out of your head and you feel better about it, you're going right back to the same. You're going to go right back to being the same. But if you do it for yourself and you understand that this is a lifetime decision, this isn't a diet, this isn't you're going to take a break, these people, anytime I talk about eating strict food, people argue with me. Yeah, you can. Somebody said the discipline is in the fact is you can go back to it after you eat it. And so I looked up discipline. I promise that's not the definition. That person tried to argue with me through comments, but I don't have that, man. You guys keep your hate all you want to, and I don't think a lot of you have it, but I don't get a lot of bad messages. I don't get a lot of follows. I got 6,000 people And I'm pretty sure that, I don't know how a video gets 300 views if you have 6,000 people you're supposed to be, following, whatever, you follow the page, follow me. But you know what I mean? Like, and I gotta tell you, I'm not a creator. I'm not a content creator. I'm not a, what they call influencer or a mini influencer. My goal is to help one of you. Just help one. And I got people I talk to all the time on here. Matter of fact, I feel like I know you guys. You guys know who you are, And there's people who've been on my page liking and asking questions and stuff for so many months. That's good enough for me. You see how I don't push like share my stuff. The right people will find, right people will find it. And you'll find me because maybe you're going through the same thing, or maybe you want to go through the same thing and you don't know how to start. And how I started was just going to the gym. And I know that you guys think that fitness side effect of the gym is muscle. Side effects is getting in shape. Obviously the diet is 90% of it. Everyone wants to say 85%, or 80% of it. You can't outwork a bad diet. It's impossible. I mean, obviously there's stuff you can take now and all that and that. But there's no win. There's no win in taking that shot or taking, whatever. There's no win in it. You know what I mean? You can't get that joy. You can't get that discipline, that thing when but hey, if you got to do, you got to do it. And I don't look down upon you. You might want to check out your gallbladder if they're giving you those high doses of those semaglutides. Man, I tell you what, they just started pushing that out there. And they didn't do a lot of studying. I've had 3 people in my life lose their gallbladder from doing that. You know what I mean? So I haven't really read the studies because I don't recommend it at all. But it is, like I said, some people just don't have the ability to not eat. And so I understand. And if you're really big, then you do everything possible to save your body. But just when you can eat healthy while you're doing that too. You can eat, protein and stuff. It's going to go slower and you're going to feel full. Stay away from the carbs. Stay away from the junk. The junk's the one that makes you feel like shit. But you guys got to understand, man, I don't do this professionally. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't have anything written down before I start talking. I just got a big mouth and a lot to say. And everything I have to say, I promise, is to help you out. If I'm giving you an example, I'm that guy. I'm that guy that shares a little too much about himself all the time. I have always been that guy. And I do it most of the time is because I know there's somebody that needs to talk about certain things. And so I will be the first goat. I'll be the one to throw myself under the bus. You can make fun of me for bringing up this subject. If it doesn't go well, then I'll take it. Usually goes well. Because, the thing about people is I care about people. And if you're in my friend group, I care about you. That's one thing I pride myself on. The fact is that I hope that they all know that if they need me, I'll be there. And I think they do. So back to the journey. So we're like 380 some days in, and I got to tell you, I'm a different human being. Completely different. I mean, everything I try to do is kind, and you guys want to think of that as like weakness and stuff. But what I've learned is kindness in the face of mean and evil feels so much better. When you walk away from that situation, it feels so much better. I'm not talking about you laugh at them or whatever. You just let people talk. Listen to the people, and don't take the criticisms. You know what? You won't take advice from them, so don't take the criticism from them. And so just listen. Listen to what they have to say, because they'll tell you what their hurt is and what they're saying. They'll tell you what bothers them the most. And you have to understand that 99% of the time it's not you, especially if it's just a random encounter with somebody. And I have those all the time. And so I understand. And I wasn't like that before. I tried to be my whole life, but I wasn't aware so much. And now I can step back. As soon as I see anger, if I see something coming at me, I prepare myself. I don't think about what they're saying. I think about how I'm going to react to this. Every single time and I fail. I fail sometimes. Some people get to you, but I've been trying harder, and I promise it gets over into other things. It starts to come subconscious, where you start to do things without even knowing. I say words that I listen to on books on tape all the time that I never even realized I knew, you know, and they just pop in there, and I know they're right. Sometimes I look them up because I said them. I'm like, holy shit, that worked. And so it's just because you improve yourself. You know, there's so many things that you can improve yourself, and fitness is the number one thing. I highly, highly recommend it. And for your kids, you know, if you're my age and you're out of shape and you know you don't know what to do, man, just start little, start light. You know, if you're not ready for the gym, do it at your house until you're ready. But the gym, I gotta tell you, there's something different about the gym than working out at your house. It's kind of like you go with, there's an energy there where other people are doing what you're doing. They're killing demons. They're ruining their bad day. You know, they're getting rid of all that stuff and going home happy with a smile on their face. You know why? Because they just did something hard and they did something they didn't want to do. And so it's some joy in that. There's so much joy in that. All right, this is the one for today. I'm gonna do these a little bit more often, guys. So, but this is me. This is me, and I don't know. I don't know how I'm doing this. I don't know what I'm doing. Understand that all I'm doing is telling you is what I'm going through, you know, and the things I'm learning along the way. And you know what? I'll go back to my childhood. I'm gonna go back to my childhood on some of these, and I'm gonna start talking about things that affected me then, that now I see the reality of it. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for listening.